Thanks so much for joining us here on 9 News Plus. I'm Meteorologist Chris Bianchi here on a cold, snowy, and really kind of foggy Monday morning here across the metro area. Fog kind of a big issue for many of us right now. Visibility down to a quarter mile or less across most of the metro area. That will not last all that much longer, but we will get some snow back into the picture later on this afternoon. Meantime, I mentioned the fog. There it is. Yeah, that is yikes. That is pretty much looking like a half mile or less visibility right now. This is from Cheeseman Park. Normally you'd be able to see downtown Denver pretty clearly off the distance, but because of that thick fog, it is difficult to see much more than a quarter mile at this point from downtown Denver. And out at the airport, we're seeing some issues getting in or out of DIA because of that fog. Visibility down about an eighth of a mile at DIA. This will gradually get a little better as we get through the day, but for the time being, unfortunately, we will be dealing with some of these foggier conditions. Snow, overnight, we picked up about an inch of snow across most of the metro area. Manila Village, this is just the east and south of the airport, picked up about 2 inches, but for most of us, again, just about everyone seeing about an inch of snow overnight across the metro area. Of course, the mountains seeing much more than that. So for today, it is that fog. That's probably our main takeaway. We do see some light snow kick back in between about 2 and 5 o'clock this afternoon. And then for this afternoon and this evening, we'll see some of that light snow continue before it tapers on down tonight. And that will give way to a prolonged, much calmer period of weather. I know a lot of us kind of ready for that. We've had a fairly active pattern, but we will start to see things turn a bit more, well, back to our regularly scheduled sunshine and calmer conditions for us here across the state starting on Tuesday and Wednesday, depending on where you are. All right, still looking at winter weather advisories in teal for the northeastern corner of the state. That includes Denver and the metro area. That's going to be for the potential for another inch or two of snow, some of that freezing drizzle and freezing fog to continue as well. Avalanche warning for the high terrain, and also looking at a winter storm warning for much of the mountains as well. So if you're going through the mountains right now, things looking kind of in between storm systems right now for us into the mountains, but we will see things pick back up as we get later on through the afternoon and the evening. I'll show you that in detail in just a second. Temperatures right now 20s, 30s for most of us statewide. But the story, there's that snow mostly through western Colorado, so the flat tops on down through the, this would be kind of the, once we get down into the San Juans, we're seeing some of that snow right now, even some of the lower elevations, so the Grand Valley on east through Rifle and even Glenwood Canyon seeing some of that snowfall right now. And a bit of a break for us right now across the eastern third or so of the state, including the Denver area. Again, we've got that fog. That is our story for the moment, but we will see some of that snow kick back up later on this afternoon once all this snow moves its way out onto the plains. So for now, again, things calm. Probably for the next couple of hours or so, we're fairly tranquil as well. But it's once we get to about 3, 4 o'clock that snow starts to pick back up again for much of the Front Range and the eastern part of the state. And that could lead to a few flakes. Once we get to about Fort Morgan, Lyman on east, though, and I haven't talked about our friends out there all that much yet, but once you get to about Fort Morgan, Lyman on east, that's where that snow will be steadier and heavier this afternoon and tonight. And that's where we could see some totals upwards of 6 inches. Again, Fort Morgan, Lyman on east, but for us in the immediate metro area, probably another inch or two at best. Probably most of us closer to an inch of snow this afternoon and this evening before it wraps on up tonight, and then we're over and done with the snow for the metro area for the time being. Into the mountains, though, that snow will gradually fizzle on out through the day tomorrow, but still some more snow yet to go on up into the high country after today. Closer look in here at the Front Range again, 4, 5, 6 o'clock. I know today is a holiday, so most of us, the roads, I'll tell you this firsthand, driving in, it was very calm out on the roads driving in this morning. And I know if you're driving home tonight, there will be a lot less in the way of cars to deal with, a lot less traffic, of course, but it will be slick out there, so keep in mind if you're driving 4, 5, 6 o'clock this afternoon, the roads could turn a bit on the slick side thanks to another inch or so of snow for us, and then by about 9, 10 o'clock, this will be over and done with. And tomorrow morning, we'll wake up with some cloud cover that will gradually give way to sunshine and much calmer for the rest of the week. Snowfall statewide, again, different story. Fort Morgan and Lyman on east, and especially in the northeastern corner, so Sterling, Holyoke, Ray, that's where I think we're maybe talking about 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7, 8 inches of snow yet to go in that part of Colorado. And I'll tell you what, I know you may have heard us back on Friday and Saturday warning about the storm, saying it could be a big one. This storm just missed us. Look at that in Nebraska. So Nebraska's going to get pretty worked by this storm. And we're looking at the potential for 6 to 12 plus inches of snow for us in Nebraska. So again, this storm missed us by about 300-400 miles here in Colorado. Otherwise, this would have been a doozy of a snowstorm if this storm had been a little further south and developed a little bit earlier, like it looked like it might on Friday. But snow forecast for us, again, metro area, most of us probably about an inch. A few spots, wouldn't be surprised we do see a few 2-inch totals across the metro area. So kind of a repeat of what we saw last night, yet again for us later on tonight. Now tomorrow, we'll see some clouds during the morning, but those will give way to sunshine during the afternoon. High temperature right around freezing, still about 10 degrees below what we would expect for this time of year. By the way, fun fact, our sunrise is still getting later as we head through the first week of January, but starting next week, those sunrises will get earlier. Our sunsets are already getting earlier, but our sunrise is still getting a tick later. That's thanks to a difference in the sunset and sunrise times. That's a different story, but meantime, just notice that sunrise time of 7:20 tomorrow morning. That will start to get a little earlier starting next week. 7-day forecast. Temperatures will start to rise, especially for us on Thursday and Friday. We'll be back into the 40s. That's seasonable for this time of year. It's around what we would around average, low to mid 40s as we head through the rest of the week and the weekend. And early next week could be talking about some mid 40s for us here along the Front Range. Now, we picked up another inch or so of snow overnight. Officially at the airport, we picked up 0.9 inches. That brings us up to 24.8 inches of snow. That's about 4 inches above the season-to-date average. And current Colorado snowpack, we're in terrific shape statewide. We're at about 120% of our average. That said, southern and eastern Colorado could use a bit of snow into the Arkansas and Rio Grande River valleys. We will get a bit of snow out that way, and this doesn't include everything that we saw over the weekend. So overall here, folks, we are sitting pretty when it comes to those snowpack numbers. And of course, for us here statewide, that is a really important number, and we're happy to see the amount of snow that we've seen so far this season. That said, we did have avalanche fatalities last week here in Colorado. So please here, folks, avoid the backcountry for the next couple of days. We are going to be talking about, in some cases, some pretty extreme avalanche concerns. So avoid the backcountry. Travel is going to be tricky through the mountains through tomorrow. Front Range snow, we got a little bit more to go, another inch or two tonight. Not a big deal. It's a low impact snowstorm because of the fact that today's a holiday, of course, still. But once we get into the high country tomorrow, it'll still be snowing. And then by Wednesday, the high country, that's when we see things finally start to wind on down on up into the higher terrain. Meteorologist Keely Chalmers will have an update for you coming up at 9 news at noon. And then Chief Meteorologist Kathy Saban's back, and she'll be in at 4 and 5. And then Meteorologist Lauren Robinson will be on at 6, 9, and 10 tonight on the 9 News family of networks. Once again, I'm Meteorologist Chris Bianchi. Thanks so much for joining us here on 9 News Plus. Happy New Year, and have a great rest of your Monday.